Yeah. Boom today, all you sports fans out there in the tubosphere, to you, the individual, as part of the collective. Welcome to Fast Track Sports Rack Highlights, here on talk radio version of the OMSR. I am your brief but concise host, Will, the alternative ESPN Sports Thrill. I'm a little still skewed, being jolted out of bed at 0620 by a 4.9. That always wakes your ass up. Better than coffee, I assure you. So, Monday morning, talking briefly and concisely, Bracketology, Breakdownology. It's all the video highlights courtesy to ESPN. Everything else, to the OMSR. Alright, specifically talking the East region. Now, this was taken from Crew 2, and what I mean by that is not your men on point per se, not that there's any difference in the quality, but with Reese and Jay Will, and probably Digger was there, and Billis, and Dickie V, start calling him Dookie V, they talk a lot in their analysis. Crew 2, we're talking Dan Dockage, did a lot of great Big Ten games, Bruce Pearl, very respected, Miles Simons been doing a great job. Color analysis, and Chris Carter, who's been doing well as a lead anchor. I think he showed up first on the college football spring games and such playlist, is what I can recall. He actually makes those black frame glasses work. Alright, quickie sport ran to the segment. In the East region, I'm pretty annoyed with the seeding of Coastal Carolina, because I've been calling them the Florida Gulf Coast for this year, and they get a 16. Now, of all the ones against Virginia, it's possible. You may be laughing at me as you're looking at your brackets here. I covered a lot of mid-major tournaments. 15, more so than the last 2 years combined, Gen 2 and 3.0. And I'm pretty sure, I haven't seen, I'm doing these as they come along here Monday morning. I mean, been woken up so rudely early in the morning. Works out that way. But I'm pretty sure there's some 13 through 15s who really deserve that 16 seed. Because Coastal Carolina, what I mean, alluding to all those other mid-majors, that was the only running away sort of blowout win. So check that game out. They may be the first 16 to beat a 1. All right, so coming up, East Region Breakdown. Thanks for watching. No silly DUIs while you're out there. Roll clips.
Like carving pumpkins in late October or hanging lights on Christmas Eve. Filling brackets is a must in March. Study it. Fill it out. Burn it up. Start again. Hand it in. Show those boys in accounting who knows who's best. 3 weeks. 1 word. Madness.
Welcome inside Bracketology. I'm Chris Cotter here in Bristol alongside Dan Dockage, Miles Simons, Bruce Pearl. If you start filling out your brackets, stop. Because over the next 2 hours, these guys are going to tell you who's going to win every game, all 67 of them. But not just that, we're going to tell you why, what the mindset is behind it. Guys, why waste any time? Let's get right into it. Let's start with the East region, and let's go out to Raleigh, where Virginia, winners of the ACC regular season, winners of the ACC tournament, against Coastal Carolina, Cliff Ellis's club. You've got Virginia moving on. That 8-9 matchup in Raleigh as well on Friday. Memphis and George Washington. It's always interesting with this 8-9 matchup. We've got Memphis going on there. Meanwhile, in Spokane, I know you did not. I want to get to that in a little bit. Meanwhile, in Spokane, on Thursday, Cincinnati and Harvard. This is one of those 5-12, and according to BPI, Harvard as a 12 seed has the best chance of upsetting Cincinnati, the 5 seed. You've got Cincinnati moving on, and Michigan State beating a Delaware team as well. So, with this said, I feel like I need to really set this up. The 3 of you, we asked the 3 of you to fill out your own individual brackets a couple of hours ago when they first came out. We took those brackets, we combined them into a super bracket, and that's what you're seeing right there. So we don't necessarily have full agreement from all 3 of them, as Dan Dockage so accurately put a little while ago. Why are you disagreeing, first and foremost?
Well, I'm disagreeing with Memphis. I don't like Memphis's defense. I haven't liked Memphis's defense all year long, and I love a good story. Maurice Creek came from Indiana. He's in his 5th year. Indiana basically said, get out. So he got out, and he went to George Washington and is leading a very tough team. And Mike Lonigan can really coach. And these are tough guys led by guys that have been through some stuff. tough. And I always believe in those kind of teams against iffy defensive teams.
I saw George Washington earlier in the year in the Wooden Legacy tournament where they went to the championship game, and they play a 1-3-1, which can give Memphis some problems because they'll make Memphis a perimeter shooting team. But I agree. I think Memphis will win that game, Coach.
I think you're going to bet against those 4 guards for Memphis. I think that would be a mistake. They're no longer in Conference USA. They're in the American Conference, which I think helped Memphis prepare to have some success in the NCAA tournament. They had to play UConn. They had to play Louisville. They had to play Cincinnati. They played tougher teams, I think, in the American than the top of the A-10.
If we put that top half of the East up again, we got that Harvard, again, and this is a Harvard team with a lot of experience. Was there any thought on anybody's part here to move Harvard on?
Yeah, I think Harvard can pull that 12-5 upset. The reason being, last year Harvard was a 14 seed. They upset New Mexico. Not that that has too much relevance this year, but they got better as a team this year because they get Kyle Casey and Brandon Curry back. Those were 2 guys that were all Ivy first-teamers before they were suspended from the school last year. So they come back. They have a deeper roster. They have an excellent three-point shooter.
Let's move on to the bottom half of the East now as we continue with this round of 64 and our picks. North Carolina and Providence. These are 2 of the hottest teams in the country coming into the NCAA tournament. Providence on the bubble at the start of the Big East, probably needing to win it, and they did. And then North Carolina, they won 12 in a row before falling to Duke at the end of the regular season and then in the ACC tournament. Meanwhile, Iowa State, again, one of the hotter teams on Friday. You guys have got them moving on past North Carolina Central. Bottom half here, Thursday at Buffalo. UConn and St. Joe's. St. Joe's, another very good team of late, winning the A-10 just hours ago. And you've got UConn advancing, and then Villanova over Milwaukee. North Carolina, any dissension here among you 3 guys in terms of North Carolina moving on?
Yes, I had dissension against North Carolina because I love how Providence played down the stretch. They had to play their way to get in there. One of Carolina's challenges, they didn't always play with effort and energy. Teams out-hustled them. Providence, Ed Cooley's teams, they will out-hustle you. And I don't know who's going to guard Providence. Because when he comes off of ball screens, he can get into the lane. Carolina doesn't do free throws consistently. They've only got 1 great 3-point shooter. I think Providence can shut him down. I think that the Tar Heels are vulnerable.
But one strength for Providence is their offensive rebounding, and that's going to go against one of the best front lines in the country. And I think North Carolina will be able to handle that with Bryce Johnson, Meeks, James Michael McAdoo. They can handle the front line of Providence and take away, negate that offensive rebounding that they have. And you ask who's going to guard Cotton. Marcus Page is a pretty good player. And I think you can put Nate Britt on him, so you can put a couple guys on Cotton. Now, Cotton's going to get his because he is an elite player and a great scorer. But Carolina, they're going to move on.
You know, to me, it's time for James Michael McAdoo to play big time. I mean, if James Michael McAdoo is supposed to be a lottery pick or a first-round pick, he was. Okay. It's time for him to become that. And this is his opportunity, maybe his last opportunity to do that. You know, back in the day, he probably wouldn't start at Carolina with the talent that they had up front. Probably wouldn't even be in the rotation, but he is. He's their guy. This is maybe his last chance to do something. He's got to do it in this game. They can't just rely on Page making buckets late in the game.
Providence controls tempo, though, and they don't always do it by speeding you up. They'll slow you down. They'll run a little 1-2-2. They'll run a little 1-3-1. I think they'll confuse Carolina. In the half court, they'll make Carolina beat them from the perimeter, and I have my doubts.
Last thing for you, Ed Cooley. Everybody loves him. He plays 6 guys, 7 guys, only 14% of their minutes come from their subs. How important is that to you in the NCAA tournament against a team like Carolina?
It's important to me because Carolina will play, what, 11?
Right.
He's just a winner. And I think he'll make plays down the stretch to find ways for UConn to win a basketball game. And I think Amita Bryant at the rim is going to be a shot blocker that St. Joe's hasn't seen all year long.
Napier kind of reminds me of his former backcourt mate, Kemba Walker. A few years ago when UConn went on that run, Napier accounts for over 40% of UConn's points on the offensive end with assists and the way he scores the basketball. And I think he's just a tough matchup because he can control the game, use the pick and rolls, get guys involved. They are playing with a sense of toughness that I haven't seen earlier in the year. They're playing much better basketball right now going into March.
Something bothered me when I watched UConn get absolutely beat up by Louisville. I'm not sure what it is. I just didn't like the way they looked as they played. And then I look, and you mentioned it, I think VCU is really good. Like, you know, Melvin Johnson's been hurt. Okay, that hurts him in the scoring standpoint. But VCU, for them to go and beat VCU like they did, that tells me that St. Joe's has got something going on inside their team. And as you know, when you get a little something going inside your team, that can carry you a little bit. And that's the feeling I had about them being St. Joe's, and the feeling I didn't have about UConn, and I'm not sure why.
St. Joe's really shoots.
Yeah.
They led the league from 2 and from 3, and that's always dangerous come time.
Yeah, and the one thing about UConn, too, that you noticed through the American tournament, latter part of the year, you had Niels Gafai step up when they needed him to. You had Boatwright, had a very good game the other day, DeAndre Daniels. So at times, and particularly of late, you're getting offense from some other pieces other than Shabazz Napier.